Peace and blessings, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Political Street. I'm your community ambassador, Mr. Robin J. Anderson. Before we get started, I'm going to give my disclaimer. All right? Political Street is not a political endorsing podcast. We're here for information purposes only. On Political Street, I interview business owners, community leaders, and our elected officials. All right? So with that being said, it's like a full circle moment. Jay, no, it's yeah. If y'all don't know, so this little backstory, man. We met through Instagram.
Yeah, it was Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. It was a sister. We still can't figure out where she at now. I forget her name too. But anyway, we ain't gonna blast her.
Oh yeah. I thought I had a name, but
yeah, man. But Jano, been one of the persons who actually helped me actually get started with my podcast. You know, I'm gonna post a picture. The first one I sat down with my mics. I'm gonna show you the look on Jano's face and look on my face.
Oh man, I might have been looking super crazy.
Yeah, no, but I got Jano, and Jano started a podcast called The Disconnect, right? With his co-host. Tell me your name is.
Eyebeeknowing.
There you go. Eyebeeknowing. There we go. Right. So, but before we get started, Jano, I want everybody to know. Get a background of y'all too, because what I do, I like to use it as an inspirational piece to say, okay, well, you know what, if I grew up in a sketchy, or if I grew up in a productive household, that it don't matter where we are now.
Right.
That make sense?
Right.
All right, so we're gonna get started. So, Eyebeeknowing, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Beaumont, Texas.
Okay, BMT.
Yeah,
all right.
Beaumont, Texas, and I grew up in the Magnolia area of Beaumont, Texas.
Okay.
So
that's the block.
Now, is that close to Lamar? Like, where is it at?
It's not close to Lamar. It's closer like towards Lucas, towards it's in the north end.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
all right.
I grew up in Beaumont, Texas, and that's it. I graduated from Central High School. So yeah.
Gotcha. Was mom and dad in the household, or just mom, dad?
So my mom was in and out of the penitentiary my whole life. My mom fell short to the drug addiction, drug life. My mom and my dad, actually. So I was raised by my grandmother.
Gotcha.
So
Grandma did a good job. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
gotcha, right?
Absolutely.
Jay, what about yourself? Where'd you grow up? I'm a guess Houston.
Yeah, I guess so. For me, I feel like my story, I kind of got to see two ends of the world. Half of my life, grew up in the hood, and then we transitioned to like the Humble area and stuff like that. So our parents wanted to give us a better life, better education. Coincidentally, though, a lot of other black parents was thinking the same thing. It was like the hood still went with us. So
right.
It just migrated. It still became the hood again.
Right.
But we just kind of had, we still had access to the different education system.
Gotcha.
And so yeah, they pushed for that. And so, but in the household upbringing was still hood because my parents came from the hood, so we were still taught these hood values, these hood lessons.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I also got the opportunity to sit in the school system, and I got to watch how other people think and react, and I got to learn really on the inside. I felt like the spook who sat by the door.
Check.
You know what I'm saying? So when I would go back and tell my friends from the hood or whatever, like, hey, it's not what you think it is, and they would be like, nah, bro, man, they so cool, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm telling you, the way they operate and the way we operate is different. I've come to understand how they operate. You can't go by this. You can't go by a smile. You can't go by handshake. You can't go by, like, hey, man, he invited me over. You can't go by that, bro. I'm telling you, you cannot go by that. They operate on a different system.
That's true. I agree.
Format.
I agree.
Different cultures operate differently, handle things differently, and that's so I got to see both sides of that and really break it down to them. And, so I feel like I'm kind of bilingual, I guess, in a way, or bicultural, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
In that type of way, you know what I'm saying?
Like, is that, can we call it hoodlingual?
Hoodlingual,
yeah. I just knew I just made it up.
Yeah, I like that, hoodlingual.
Hoodlingual, yeah, might to hashtag that, so
yes, sir.
I be knowing, what, did you attend college?
I went to college a little bit. So I ended up being a mommy.
Okay.
So I was a mommy. It's like, so as soon as I left the nest, I was a wife. I was a mommy. So I put a lot of things to the side, and I chose motherhood. I put a lot of things. So I didn't get a chance to finish college. And I kind of dip and dabble, like, in the college, like, throughout the years or whatever. But it's always, like, life be lifing, you know? So it's really kind of hard to kind of, like, stay on the straight path or whatever, especially when you have a lot on you and you have a lot of responsibilities, because there's so many things that if I don't do it, it ain't gonna get done. It's just on me.
Right.
So, but I do plan to go back to college.
I mean, well, and this is gonna sound very hypocritical, but I really feel that the college of life is more important than college books. You know what I'm saying? And so, don't get me wrong, because I mean, I went and I didn't finish, but it's kind of like I want to finish what I started, but then it's like, okay, but then for what? Get back, get more debt.
Right. Maybe just an ego thing.
Yeah, right. That too. And then, but we ain't talking about y'all. All right. So anyway, what about you, Jay? I know you went to Lamar, right?
Yeah, I went to LU. Lamar University. Yeah,
Gotcha.
So I did, but I agree really what you're saying, because outside of college, I've learned so much more through experience and business and stuff like that. I started learning more about credit, learning about money, and how this whole system works outside of college. In college, they taught me, the basics of how to structure a business, the ins and out, pretty much where you can run any type of business, the formation of everything and just getting all of the admin and stuff like that.
Right.
But the real lessons came in through the experience, you know what I mean? And then the experience with people, it's such a competitive world, you know what I'm saying? Even in the business world, you know what I mean?
I agree.
So, yeah.
And I really feel like the whole competitive thing is what's happening now, you know what I mean? And so, Kobe Bryant said something that was so profound, I think a lot of people miss it. He said, when you're competing with somebody, if you say, you know what, I'm gonna, basically, if you see it's a compete with somebody, then they've already won because you feel like they on your level. You see what I'm saying? I was like, damn, Kobe, that was deep. You know what I'm saying? So I don't compete with nobody. You know what I'm saying? But y'all want to go out here and assemble a team, and then y'all want to, that's good. I'm on my own level. You know what I mean? So I don't compete no more.
Yeah.
I stopped hooping. I stopped playing pool, all kinds of stuff because of that mindset. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
I can dig it. It's almost like you chasing too.
Right.
In that type of way.
Right. Check.
So I believe the only competitions you should have is with self.
Yourself. That's right.
You know what I mean? That's how I've been throughout my life in sports. It's always been, how can I better myself? I'm always looking at how can I PR? How can I be my personal record? How can I do better? I'm always going back to the drawing board every time. I'm like, man, okay, I messed up here, this, and that. You know. And some people say, man, Jay, you never really got a chance to celebrate your victories, And I can see that part too, you know what I'm saying? So I've tried to find that little balance as I've gotten older, It's like, okay, it happened. But I ain't gonna lie, my mindset is to get right back to it.
Yeah.
So.
It makes sense though, man. And from what I know of you though, Jenna, you've been in the music game for a while, you know what I'm saying? And you're the only friend I know that actually had music play on 97.9 in the box, you know what I mean? Like a hood, well, I want to call you a legend because they say legends die or dead, right? So, living legend, I'm going to say that, you know what I mean?
I appreciate that. Wow, that's all. I appreciate that. Yeah, music from the time I was 19. I was just thinking about this a couple of days ago. And I feel like I wasn't giving myself enough credit. Because I'm always coming with the humble approach. You know what I mean? I was just taught to be humble. And I was like, wow, from the age of 19, I managed to spread the music from Houston all the way to the tip of Louisiana.
Wow.
Wow. And I was just like, but at the time, again, not celebrating small victories for me. I'm just going and going. Like, I get it. We got to. And I'm not thinking about all that. Like, hey, we got to get this out, y'all. We got to. You know what I'm saying? That's been my mentality. So, but I appreciate it though.
Yeah, no, I agree with. Sometimes you being in go mode so much that you want, okay, well, what's next? You know what I mean? We got to keep this energy moving. You know what I mean? And so Now I've seen a couple clips. I've seen you. You have some vocals. You know what I mean? Were you in the music industry as well?
So I did music. I've been doing music my whole life since as long as I can remember talking. So it's in me, not on me. So, but I started off with poetry. So I do music. I sing a little bit, like here and there, but it's not something, your vocal box is kind of like a muscle. It's something that you have to exercise and strengthen it and make it. So I don't really sing as much. I think my strength is more so like in poetry and rapping, but I do kind of sing. I can hold a note a little bit, like here and there.
Gotcha.
So, but I always love music, so yeah.
Now, how's the poetry scene in Beaumont? In Houston, it was booming.
The poetry scene in Beaumont is really good, actually.
Really?
Like they have a lot of poetry events or whatever. The whole Golden Triangle. So it's really like a really small community, like Beaumont, Port Arthur, Orange. They all come together and they always throw like different events and stuff like that. But yeah, the poetry, they got a lot of good poetry in Beaumont.
Interesting, because Beaumont, Port Arthur don't really seem as much as like. I know you got a lot of us that's down there, but it seems so. It's gonna seem bad to say, man. Like it's more urban. not a lot of development.
Yeah.
So I don't really see a lot of poetry. I mean, I guess you can.
But you know what? That's what makes it more creative.
Right. I was just thinking
it's
that.
not so many things to do. So a lot of people tap into their creativity because it's not so busy.
Right.
And it's so still.
Right.
And stuff like that. But we didn't tap in with couple of poets and stuff in Houston. Seven the poet.
I know Seven.
Yeah, so he would come down there and do
up.
features, you know, and stuff like that. So
Gotcha. Even with Orange, man. So backstory, when Orange had the hurricane come through, I forget which one it was. We were driving through there and we were going to like a backpack giveaway at a church. Right. Long story short, y'all, I saw some caskets that had came from out of the ground because it had flooded, and they were just sitting there. And I was like, God damn. Anyways, I started thinking about The Walking Dead and Night Living Dead. So
well,
I
they
ain't
was doing it
there.
on Pine Street too. Like they were saying, like towards where the river is, like all the way down Pine Street, the north end. They were saying those caskets kind of coming up over there too.
Wow. So, like I was saying before about J-No being I call him my sensei, y'all, because he kind of helped me get everything, navigate, and so when did you get the bug to get into this podcast game, man? 'Cause I know this.
Man, truthfully, it's been a couple years prior to. It's just I was just doing so many other things, and just the thought was there, but everything happened at the right time, perfect timing. I feel like I couldn't have connected with a better person to host the show with.
Yeah. I like the energy y'all give out on camera. It shows, you know what I mean? So yeah, and I feel it too, So
appreciate it. Hear that often. We be trying to see. What I'm saying? Camera, at least I do. I'll be like, dang, how they, because it's hard when you, inside looking out sometimes.
Check, that's right. I agree. I agree 1,000%. Now the question that everybody probably thinking, how'd y'all meet? Because things don't it's hard to find a symbiotic relationship or even friendship.
Right. But
then to be able to put on camera and then project. You can't hide energy. You know what I mean? How'd y'all meet?
Golly. Yes, sir. How you going?
So, I always heard about J-No from when he came down to Beaumont, and I think that's around the time when you was in Lamar. And so I would hear J-No, like throughout music, but we never really, we ran in the same circle, but we never really just crossed paths like
can see that happen.
So I knew who he was. Like I could put the face with the name, but I never really knew him until we went to it was a video shoot that he was doing. So he was actually shooting a video for another one of our mutual friends that does music too. And I seen him there, and our friend ended up introducing us, and so, but it still wasn't nothing till all the way up until when I moved to Houston, like in 2019, 2020. Then there was another musical friend that he was doing music with, and then we ended up featuring on a song together. And then we started following each other on social media, and then he reached out and was talking
cousins,
about
right?
Yeah, Instagram cousins, yeah. So then he reached out to me about podcasts, which that was something that I was always wanting to do as well. So and the rest was just
So and prior to that, rewinding a little bit, in between time, in the meantime, I would see her posting, on social media. So it's like even through social media, through Facebook. It's like I was kind of able to not really checking for the post. You just pop on when you scan, you start seeing posts. I'm like, okay. And I kept seeing the stuff she was posting. I'm like, okay. And I'm like watching her growth, watching her transitioning, from one phase to another phase, to where she was at. And I was just like, man. And I already knew musically. I had heard her music before. Like say, running in the same circles. I had come across her music, and I thought her music was dope. I was like, man, she a real dope artist. And and so as I was working through the mutual friend. At the time, I was like, man, I want to get her on this track. You know what I mean? I'm like, I could hear her tone. Like, I don't know any other female MC that's on that level. That's gonna be lyrically there. That's gonna, delivery energy. That's gonna be able to bring that. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's
probably coming from him. Real talk. He's a real critic. You know what I mean? So
I'm super particular.
Yeah, real talk. Yeah.
So and I was just like, man, I can envision her on the track. But even then, like she said, she was recording at night. I was there in the daytime, so we was kind of miss each other different days and all that. I would just come in the next morning, hit a song, and I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Like, play that again. I probably played about 10 or 20 times. It was like, man, that's hard. And then, like I said, later after that, kind of reached out about the podcast. And
gotcha. This podcast game, y'all, is such a. First of all, I'm gonna give y'all your flowers, because really a lot of what we're seeing is like a lot of toxic. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I did some research, and the number one podcast here in Houston are all talking about sports.
Oh.
Nothing with any kind of meat and potatoes you can eat and digest.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, wow. So that's why what y'all doing is it's needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I appreciate y'all. You know. So tell me where the disconnect came from. What the name or the concept?
Okay, so the disconnect concept was basically all the ways to exploit all the ways, not exploit, but really to build on all the ways that we're disconnected as a society.
Sure.
And not just talk about it, because everybody's talking about a podcast, they're kind of going back and forth, but to actually bring resolution forward, you know, or if not resolution, for some people that's first time hearing it, to bring awareness to what's going on. So the disconnect, if you look at the logo, and this kind of, when you talk about that energy from earlier, one side of the logo is red, one side of the logo is green. And years prior to, I had been drawn to the color red. The red was representing the masculine energy, and then the green one was representing the feminine energy. If you look at the logo, it's two plugs, so it's two masculines. You know, representing that the idea that a lot of our women have been pushed into toxic masculinity. You know, instead of tapping into their divine femininity, because masculinity was the symbol of power. So of course, who don't want their power stripped? You know what I'm saying? Of course, who wants to be in position? You know what I'm saying? So that's what the logo pretty much represented. And come to find out, what's your favorite color?
Green.
For trees or for money?
For life.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I got you. You know, we don't really. I'm saying weak. I want to assimilate with that. Our culture now is so divisive. You know what I mean? Like what you said, as far as like having the masculine and the feminine, and we kind of quote unquote fight each other. But what do you think is the answer to us coming back and being united again? Well, being more united. I want to say again, because we united by us sitting here. We're united, right? But what can we do more? What can we do as a culture to get more united?
I think listening. A lot of people they don't listen to understand the other perspective. Like I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm already thinking about my response before you even finish what you're saying. So I think understanding things, because a lot of times if you see a situation where even when you watching people on podcasts, or you watch couples, or you watch people and they're arguing, they're going at each other, you got the masculine and the feminine and they're at each other, but if they really take time to realize they really both right. Sometimes you're both right. Sometimes it's from a masculine perspective and sometimes it's from a feminine perspective. And if people would just calm down and just put both of those perspectives together, we're both right.
I agree.
In most cases. So really just perspectives. Like, because people want to just see things from a partial perspective. They don't want to see things from your perspective, and I think that's where the conflict and stuff come in.
I agree.
Nobody want to understand.
I agree.
They want to sway you. I want to pull you into what I'm thinking. I want to pull you into how I feel. I want to pull you into not even trying to, just understand, because I might learn something from you. And that's the key to conversations to me, because when I walk away from a conversation, I like to think that I'm taking something, and I like to think that I left something.
Right. Check.
So
I agree. You know, it's interesting you say that, because yesterday I shot a podcast, and the seat right here, there was an elder sat right here, right?
Okay.
And she was just kind of waiting on her ride to come. So, long story short, she ended up getting some information from my guest. And then when they left, she said, "Hey, how long you been doing this?" I said, "Doing what?" She said, "Recording stuff." I said, for a little while." She said something so profound that's going to pick back what you said. She said, "I can tell that you are confident in yourself." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You asked a question, and you sat back and you listened to their response."
Right.
She said, "You'd be surprised at how many people don't know the art of conversation, of just listening."
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I didn't think about it like that, you know what I mean? But that's just kind of picking up what you just said, so it makes sense, so...
you can always tell when somebody doing it, because when they respond, sometimes it don't have nothing to do with what you just
said. Right.
Based off the first 3 words you said. So I think the empathy is one to kind of build in, and what she's saying is once you listen, and at the next phase of that is to have that empathy. I always say all the time, the difference between sympathy and empathy, because sympathy is outside looking in. I'm trying to feel how somebody feel from the outside, but being able to really tap in, put yourself in that position. If I'm in this seat, how is it going to make me feel? How is my understanding? You know what I mean? To look at what this person, whatever the issue this person is bringing towards you, you know what I mean? And say, dang, if it was me,
I never heard it explained like that. I never heard it explained like that.
We are learning here, you know what I mean? So, man. So, what direction, do you see the disconnect? What is y'all's, I guess, your your impact that you want to leave in this podcast world? What do you see the disconnect doing?
How to properly disagree, right? So a lot of people don't know how to disagree. You know, they don't know what it looks like. Like they'll see two people and they'll see these like two couples together. Well, two people as a couple together. I'm sorry, and they'll say, well, they never argue. They never did. These people know how to disagree with each other.
Check.
They know how to properly disagree with each other, right? Like really, and really walk away with the understanding. It always goes back to understanding. I think that's where the disconnect comes from, because a lot of people don't know how to properly and maturely disagree with one another without discrediting one another.
I agree.
You know.
I agree.
And you know what? To go what she's saying, I feel like I learned, that was a lesson I personally learned. Or I would say we, but I'm going to say me, I'm going to speak for me, that I learned during the course of this podcast. So to even speak on that level, like, we're like that on that level. You know what I mean? And I was just talking, we were kind of waiting to that moment. So let me rewind back a little bit. So the original concept of the disconnect was to have a disagreeable masculine and feminine, and then come to a solution right there on the show.
Okay,
you know
I
what
see
mean?
that.
So we kept looking for the points of where we was going to disagree at. But when we would speak prior to the show, like, yeah, me too, I feel like it was kept agreeing. We're like, dang, wow, you know what I'm saying? And then the point where we came to a few disagreements, I almost feel like we didn't even, me personally, feel like I didn't realize we had disagreed. I had to rewind the conversation and say, hey, you know that one time?
That makes sense.
We had to kind of bring up the dialogue and say, hey, you know, but because it didn't look like the normal disagreement. It wasn't a shouting, yelling, you know, disrespecting and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? So we had to kind of rewind back and say, hey, we did disagree.
Right.
But it's just we handled it so maturely.
Yeah. And that's what it's supposed to look like.
Right. I agree. I agree. So, as far as moving forward, like this whole political world, y'all had me on. We talked about politics and whatnot. And did y'all foresee what's going on now back then? I know we kind of touched on a little bit about voting and this and that. So, what have y'all experienced? What is y'all input about the whole political world going on now?
So, as you know, I wasn't into politics then. I learned a lot from you on that podcast. You really brought a lot of insight on a lot of things, and shed a lot of light on a lot of things that I never really even thought about, because I really try to stay away from politics, and I'm probably not going to go too far deep into it now, because it's only so far that I could go, into it. But as far as like what I see the first is about to be last, and the last is about to be first. I see it's a lot of undoing that's going on. I see it's a lot of things that's being drained out of the swamp. I see a lot of things, and I see a lot of people being uncomfortable. I see a lot of people at the top that's mad and upset because they're not going to be able to live as comfortably as they have been able to live off the expense and off the back of all of us. So they being unplugged. I see a lot of people from the bottom that's been sitting there living off of government assistance for 10 and 15 years and not wanting to move their feet and stuff. So they're being unplugged from their system as well, because these things are specifically designed for people that really need it.
Check.
And it's no different from going to Walmart and jumping on one of those little carts and riding around Walmart, and you could really walk.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
And then they got people that's pulling up, so the handicapped person that really needs this cart pulls up, and they don't have nothing to ride on because you walking around. So that's how I feel about that.
You're right. I agree.
Okay with that.
I agree. I agree. What about you, Jay?
So, I foreseen Trump winning. I'm gonna say it like that, and people may not like what I'm about to say right here just now, but
hey, speak your mind.
I wanted Trump to win. You know why? Just for that very reason she mentioned. I wanted people to get, like, I notice all people do better when their back is against the wall and they got no choice. You know what I mean? So I wanted some things to be shooken up so they can see. I like that rawness, because again, if I tell you going back, I grew up going half and half in the system. I seen how they operate very smoothly. Everything's very finesse. You know what I'm saying? So I knew, and so they were pretty much under a spell or under a roof, whatever. They couldn't see the bigger picture because everything is always being finessed to them. It's always been finessed to them. So with him, that finesse gone. It's out right in your face. You know, when our people get slapped in the face, that's when they get up and they ready to clap back. You know what I'm saying? So they needed that slap in the face. You know what I'm saying? Who said it? The Negro, docile and meek. Was it Langston Hughes?
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? So like,
sure did,
you know, and so you seeing that, you know what I mean? Long as we comfortable and we finessed and this and that, and we, you know, we're gonna go along to get along. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But when that ground gets shook, it's different.
You know, and it's, excuse the pun, but I'm seeing your boots. And what's reminding me is somebody said the world is I saw it mean the world is going to hell. It's being shaken up and this and that, and black folks over here dancing, right? You know what I mean? So it's like,
I love it.
That was too funny. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
do it with your boots on.
Right. But y'all know what though? It's crazy that even though it looks a certain way, I feel that by our people dancing, we're in tune with the earth. It's like nothing happens by happenstance. You know what I'm saying? We in tune, we vibrate, we celebrating because hey, you know what? This stuff's gonna end. You know what I mean? And so, but still, I'm still like, man, you know, we got to figure out some way. People need to kind of be prepared for what's coming. You know what I'm saying? Because I know people in my circle, they don't have food stocked, they don't have a garden. You know, if there's a gas shortage, you don't have gas stacked away. You know what I'm saying? You don't have solar panel when lights go out. I mean, it's going to get kind of crazy. You know, I was watching Candace Owens. I think I sent you more. Candace Owens said that there was the World Summit, or whatever they call it. They meet, and in 2019 they predicted the coronavirus. The next thing we know, a year later, the coronavirus happened. She said that they met this time again, and they're talking about a pandemic. Grid crisis where the electricity and stuff is gone. If you think about it, from our apps to on our phone to from the banks, everything's all connected to electricity. Right. If you can't plug in, just imagine how chaotic it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's going to look like 1990 all over again.
It was 1990? 99?
We didn't have all of that.
No, before that, 1990.
Oh, we didn't have it. Yeah, so people know how to adjust to it. Right.
So that's all it's gonna go back to.
Yeah, that's true. But I think then too, a lot of people don't have cash on hand to even to buy stuff. You know what I mean? And then too, when last time you see somebody count change out to you? You know what I mean?
That part too. Yeah, that part. Yeah.
Because even during the pandemic, they didn't have change. Like you had to, people were saying, they was like, hey, we don't have the change to give you. Are you okay with making this purchase? I've been to a couple of stores like during the pandemic when we were doing it. Yeah.
Wow.
So they weren't having change.
Right. I don't know, man. But I feel like we can talk a whole lot, man. But I definitely want to have y'all come on and talk about the Disconnect podcast and whatnot, because I want to definitely support y'all and help y'all get push these numbers up, push our content that's can yield better fruit to our community. You know what I mean? And so, where can they find y'all on social media and stuff like that?
Well, on Facebook, it's at the Disconnect Podcast. Mm-hmm. Same thing as TikTok. YouTube and Instagram is at the Disconnect Podcast _.
All right, gotcha. All right. Any personal ones you want to do? Eyebeeknowing or
you can follow Eyebeeknowing on all social platforms. EYEKNOWING.
Gotcha.
And you can follow me at JNo the Sun King. One word. No, it's not one word. At JNo _D Sun King.
Gotcha. All right. So y'all, until next time, y'all make sure go to the website. I'm slinging T-shirts. You know what I mean? Buy a T-shirt. Also, I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Polygamy Street. And so y'all keep doing what y'all doing. I'm proud of y'all. You know what I mean? So we gotta no problem. Hey, but y'all gotta come back. We're gonna come back and circle around and see how things shifted between the next probably 6 months and see, how things are panning out. Agreed?
Yes, sir. Agreed. Hey, we here.
All right. Till next time, y'all. Peace.
Definitely want to give a shout out to Political Street, man. That's one of the coldest names you can have. Because we out here in these streets, but these politics is trickling down, so it's all intertwined, man. So we got to figure out how to work it the way we work. So shout out to Political Street.